Neeks. Really. Hello, 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 lovelies. How's everybody doing today? What about these two red things? What about these two red things? You gonna fight me? You wanna fight me right now? What do you mean about the two red things, huh? Huh, Venus? Come here. Come here. Come here. Come here. I'll fight you. I'll fight you right now. Okay. So thank you, Savvy Addy. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. I think we've capped it off. I think you capped it off. I don't think there's no more stealing. Wait, is there one more stealing? I'm first? No. Addy got it. Congratulations, Addy, for being the one true person who is first. I'm so proud of you, Addy. You stole it and you won. Also, Mosdorf, thank you for also being first. Thank you, Lullaby, for being second. And Aiko. Congratulations on being third. That's how math works. I can count, chat. I'm so good at counting. How is everybody doing? How's everybody doing? I'm Maple. Okay, let me go through everybody and give a little hello to everybody. It's gonna take me a little bit, chat. Be patient, okay? Hi, Lynn. Hi, Savvy. Hi, Lullaby. Hi, Moss. Hello, Moss Dwarf. Hi, Gibbet. Hi, Aura. Aura, lovely to see you. Love seeing my mons. Hello, Keeper. Hello, Moxie. Hello, Gangsta Neeks. Hello, Gibbets again. Hello, Echo Infernal. Hello, Ocean. Hi, Ocean. Enjoy your lurk. I hope it's going well. Hello, Nia. Hi, Nia. Nia, you're very lovely. Hello, Venus. Hi, Spell. Hi, Ari. Hello, little bunny. How are you doing today? Good to see you. I hear school's been busy. Hi, Aiko. Aiko all day. And hello, Robin. And in case I missed Vanya, because I didn't see Vanya, but Vanya always sneaks in right when I look away. Hi, Vanya. Hi, Vanya. How's everybody doing today? Why are we not friends right now? What'd I do? Why aren't we friends right now? What did I do? The third party? Who is the third party? What happened, Maple? Are you okay? Tonight is media night, and I'm so excited. What the huh? The fuck it? I think somebody took the song and edited it in some random shit at the very end. That was so weird, and it threw me off. Sorry, that hurt. That hurt me. Anyways, what's up, Maple? What third part? For those Discord, I smiled like a dumbass on my ID, and I had to email support. Maple, hit me up. Maple, hit me up. I'll figure something out, okay? We'll figure something out. That's wine. That's not what I was trying to pour. That's... Oh, Maple's in? Oh, you're in. Oh, I'm so sorry. Okay, well, good. I'm glad you're in. Hello. Okay, so today, we are going to be doing a media share. I've taken all of the videos that you all have sent me since last Sunday. By the way, it's like 25 minutes of video, which doesn't seem like a lot, but I feel like it's going to be, Oh no, I'm going to drink straight from the bottle. Why would I pour this into a cup? Clearly the serving size, one bottle. You know, if I pour it in a cup, that means the servings are smaller. I don't have a fun cup. Actually, you know what I'm using for a cup? It's wine. Okay, chat. I promise I will be okay today. This is wine. I will not be drinking any hard liquor. And this is Stella Rosa, by the way. Stella Rosa is like the least alcohol content of anything. It tastes like juice. And I'm 6'4", chat. Like this is gonna do nothing, but it will be tasty and it'll make me a little goofy, okay? Okay, yeah, exactly. Exactly, it's gonna give me a little buzz. It's gonna be nice. I'm gonna be so happy. So, and I think this is the perfect mental state to be in when I'm going over fuck-ass clips. No. Stella Rosa is a brand, not rosé. This is their black. I have said 6'4" every single time. No, it tastes like grape juice. What do you mean it's nasty? It is so tasty. Vanya! Hi, Vanya. Vanya? Hello, Vanya. Where's Vanya? Vanya. Where's Vanya? Where's Vanya? They must have... You added Vanya. You taste... Wait. Hi, Vanya. You taste like juice. You do not know that. You don't know. Hello. Mwah. But Stella Rosa is delicious. Good to see you, Vanya. Okay, chat. I'm going to try to get this set up real quick. Gene, you had so much time to get this set up beforehand. Why didn't you get it set up beforehand? Fight me. IRL right now. Look, chat. It's not like I'm not already having a high therapy bill, you know? so, oof. Okay, sources, window capture. Okay, we're gonna see if this works right. Media player, perfection. Okay, cool, that's working. And does window capture 2 have its own audio capture? Yes, it does. We're gonna do a quick little test. That's way too loud. Still too loud. My bad. I apologize. There we go. That'll do. Okay, are we ready? Chat, are we ready? Are we ready? Pow. I had to make this into a video. By the way, chat. So understand, I put time and effort into this. Also, I didn't see any of this beforehand. So. Ready. And I'm going to pause after each one because I'm one of those people. 3. 2. Oh, I can't see you, chat. There we go. 3. 2. I did. Let's go.
Hey gang.
The fuck was that? Wait.
Hey gang, it's Brendan Mulligan coming to my very first TikTok here on TikTok.com. It's an exciting time for social media and its users to be talking about community and the ways that we can post about the community and about posting. I hope that you follow me for a good posts about talking about the conversations that we have when we post on these platforms. So thank you so much for your time, and I love to be part of TikTok.com. Thank you.
Who held a gun to his head? Who held a gun to Brendan Lee Mulligan's head and put? Do y'all know who Brendan Lee Mulligan is? Do you all know who Brendan Lee Mulligan is? Because that man, that was either a bit for points. Brendan Lee Mulligan is a heavily anti-fascist, anti-capitalist dungeon master comedian from Dropout and College Humor, and the only reason he would ever do that is because he was currently on Game Changer, and chat, we're gonna watch Game Changer after this. We're gonna watch Game Changer today. We're gonna watch the Brendan Lee Mulligan episode. Fuck it, cancel me. I don't care. They can shut me down. He will do anything for points to win. That is definitely him doing it for points, because he would never do this otherwise. Okay. No, Vanya.
You've got to put some swaz on it, Gromit.
Wait a second, sorry, I forgot to do this. We do have this voice I need to do, and also for the Calypsy, hello. So, uwu. There you go. You can have that one for free. Und then another, the uwu. Okay, here we go. Apparently I have to be stuck in this voice for a while, so we're gonna keep doing this, okay? I got told I have a Discord kitten voice. Do you uwu? Is that what you do? Do you go the, hello, Mr. Discord mod, I'm a sad little girl who needs money. Thank you. Okay, here we go.
You've got to put some swaz.
Wait.
On it, Gromit.
Fuck it. Wait, play.
You've got to put some swaz on it.
No, dude, no. We need to break this down though. He's holding this. He sees it spinning. Sorry, wait a second. He's holding it. He sees it spinning, and he knows what that thing's going to do. And then,
Gromit. Stop being...
damn, the fucking child. He's dead. That child died. What is this? Why are we rat spinning? What the hell is this? What the hell is this? What was that?
Day one living with the black guy. God fucking damn it.
Oh no.
Like, what is all this fidgeting? Yeah, this thing is called a fucking battery, Tyler.
Oh no, fire.
And guess what? It doesn't fucking beep every 30 seconds.
You proud of yourself?
Yeah, because I sit down in peace. Beep! Beep! Oh, fucking shoot yourself.
Really? It is crazy to me how much work had to go into that for that short video. Dude, that man made an entire fucking animation and a song for this. Who does that? Who spends this much time for this? This is amazing. That was gorgeous. Very gorgeous. Very good.
I'll make them stop.
I love this.
Go to sleep, go sleep, little pet. Go to sleep, go to sleep.
I love those videos. Goo goo gaga time for you. Dude has vocal control. Chat, my room is absolutely fine. Why am I in this? Why am I in this? Who put me? Who put me in this? What video? What video is this? What video is this? What video is this? All right. No, it better not be the fuck. Okay. Okay. No. Well, fine. Fine. We'll go. We'll go. We'll see it. We'll see who did this. Chat, my room is absolutely fine. It's just fuck. It's fine. It's fine. Damn it. No, it's fine. My room is fine, chat. I don't know what you're talking about. It's nice and it's absolutely fine. It's fine. Fuck. We're good. It's room is clean. I swear it's everything is. No shit. No, we're okay. We're okay. It's so clean. It's such a lovely, nice room.
Y'all, if the top of the
Really? That is the one that you had all the clips I have. You know, I've like, oh, hey, Gene's being funny, silly, goofy, he's being kind and sweet. And now you had to do with the one where, you know what? It hasn't gotten better. It hasn't gotten fucking better. It's still, fuck, it's the same. Ah, no, what happened? Wait, where am I? Where am I? What happened? Why is it different now? Ah ha ha! I don't know what I did. I don't know what click the bottom left. The 3 dots? Or this one? Bottom left. Okay. Okay. Oh, thank God. Anyways, I'm so glad that didn't grab onto anything else on my hard drive, because my hard drive is definitely. Is this normal? Damn it! I was just making a joke about it being quiet and I muted myself. This is so hard. Okay, anyways, we're good. One day we shouldn't tell him, chat. Honestly, I wouldn't realize. Did I ever tell you all about one of my best streams ever where my stream went amazing and then like an hour and I'm like, God, there's nobody talking in my stream, and I just like, I wonder why there's nobody here, and like, I thought I was doing a great job entertaining, but you know, I guess, guys, I'm just gonna end my stream early. And then I go to end my stream. I hadn't been streaming for an hour. For a fucking hour. I'd been sitting there by myself, not even recording. I don't know what I did or when I didn't start it. But for an hour, I had been there. Oh, this was back. This was a long time ago now. What stream was it? It wasn't. It wasn't a stream because it never happened. I didn't start the stream. So it just wasn't. I was like emotionally crushed too, being like I didn't realize I was this bad. Like, there's been like people showing up before, and now this. And yeah, no. Anyways,
pot starts spinning. What that mean? Like, what I'm supposed to do at this point?
wait. Skip me. It's such a lovely, nice room.
Y'all, if the top of the pot starts spinning, what that mean? Like, what I'm supposed to do at this point?
You can take it off the burner. It's done. Send it back to the moon. All right, where were we? Why is there two of them?
Pot starts spinning, what that mean? Like what I'm supposed
Why?
to do at this point?
Why was there two? How did that happen?
Go stroke, a gooner's life for me. We lather, we stroke, we edge, we joke, lube up, me gooners go stroke. We rub it on Reddit and milk it to piglets. Lube up, me gooners go stroke. Go stroke, a gooner's life for me. We conquer the seas, we play with our D's. Lube up, me gooners go stroke. Population-based ropes are sinking balls. Lube up, me gooners go stroke. Go stroke, a gooner's life for me. We beat our meat to OF leaks. No booty for booty, go stroke. We do it at home, thought we were alone. Our mom and dad say, oh no.
Stroke. Not me, you fool.
Go stroke, a gooner's life for me. Had too big a splash, now wear an eye patch. Loop up, me gooners go stroke. We ordered our dash to not end our sash. Loop up, me gooners go stroke.
Well, you know what? I was gonna stand up. I'm gonna stand up for. I'll be right. Give me a second. Give me a second. It's fine, chat. It's fine. But don't worry. It's fine. I did not go to stroke. What do you mean? No. Hey. Not the fucking 5 times fire combo.
Carly, I love you.
I know.
Moving on.
But you don't know the real me. This isn't what I look like. Not really.
It's not
Okay.
about what you look like.
Okay.
Adam,
I love you for you.
I know.
It'll be okay. Just show me the
It'll be
real
okay.
you.
Show me the real
Okay.
you. What the
Here's that vodka 3 Splenda, no ice. Oh, I'm so sorry about that. Let me get that cleaned up for you.
Hey, what do you say we finish this drink in the women's restroom? Don't worry, she doesn't mind. Excuse me, hello? Waitress?
Waitress. Does that work? Does that work? Is that how I should be called? Hey, chat. Come here, chat. Hey, Pomo's here. It worked.
Can you get this itch on my back? I cannot get it.
No. It did not call. Multiple people did not show up when I click. I don't do it with your tongue. You do it with your cheek. Y'all ever like ride horses? That's what you do with horses. You go. It's just me. Am I just too white? Yes, I've ridden Hanses.
You know it could kill you with one hand, right? Please don't. Why shouldn't I? I've got Beyblades. Well, dude, lead with that. Come on, let's let it rip.
Keeper. Is Keeper here? Chat, I think I need, okay, so I've been sent stuff before, you know, like little presents and food and stuff. Do you know what Keeper sent me, chat? Hi, Keeper. Keeper sent me a fucking Beyblade. Keeper sent me a fucking Beyblade. I have one Beyblade. I keep it in a drawer, and I go, I need a second Beyblade. As someone who is also very white, that is actually noise for horses when riding. Right. Right. like I God, somebody else understands. Like that's, you'll learn it when you ride a horse. It's just like it gets. I do need a battle arena. I am too old to. You're never too old for Beyblade. Okay.
Do it, baby, stick it, baby, move it, baby, lick it, baby, suck.
Hey! What the f do you want? I was gonna rob you. Oh my god, that's literally so annoying. Okay, you don't have to be so mean about it. The attacker has entered my home. Grab the closest object and distract. Once blinded, move forward. Analyze attacker. He has a weak knee. One hand strike. Then discombobulate.
These dogs are on point. Wait, where's the German Shepherd? I don't think Great Danes realize that they can kill you. That they're fucking massive. I think Great Danes just think everything else is... Am I the Great Dane of the human world? I just assume everybody else is small, not that I'm big. Oh. Don't eat you. I'm very clumsy. And my mom has a Rottweiler that's a princess lapdog. No, Gene, you're not. Shut up, tree man. I'm not a tree. Gene, it's Hatsune Miku. Is that Hatsune Miku?
Cup of tea.
It's fine.
Sure.
Yeah, you know, the other world. Goat tastes so good. Goat tastes good. What do you mean goat doesn't taste good?
Ha! It was poisoned. Bitch. What is your name? Johnny? What is your quest? To rob you? What is your favorite dog breed? Oh, golden retrievers.
You've answered wrong. Where's the German Shepherd? I think Axe might be a goat. The face! No, I need that. Wait. Wait.
Where are you?
I need this as art. I need me, or no, have me in the front and Vanya in the back. I need that to exist. Vanya behind me when I say something slightly too lewd. Okay. Okay. How much wine have I had? Oh, we're good.
What? Hey! Oh, crap. If I could get off this couch right now, you'd be toast.
Vibes.
I could go for some toast right now.
God, I love toast. Where's the German Shepherd?
Oh my god! Hi! I'm so sorry about the mess. I was not expecting company. Please, come here. Come on, sit down. Alright, so tell me everything.
Hi, Daddy. Shiba Inu, the smile.
Stop. I'm robbing you. Why are you smiling? Okay, fine. I'll leave.
I need to try that through a raid next time, chat.
What are you doing?
If we ever have somebody that raids and the vibe is weird, we're just gonna go like this. Until they leave.
Robbing you? Dude, my neighbor is like 10 times richer. Let's go rob him. Oh, yeah, I'm down. Oh my god, hi, a person! Hi. Oh my god, I'm so excited. I'm gonna pee. What? I'm gonna pee. Don't. I'm gonna pee. Don't. Oh, this place is perfect. Look at all this stuff.
Oh, wait. Is this it? Is this it? Which one is this? Which one is this? Come on. Come on. I have owned nothing but German Shepherds. I've owned nothing but German Shepherds, and they're lovely. They're nice until you enter and they weren't expecting you. And then, oh boy. But I love them. I love German Shepherds so much. The fuck? It has chicken legs. Why does this soap have bacon in it? I made it myself. Stop blaming your teammates. It's a skill issue. My teammates.
Teammate, don't go up there. Don't.
It's me. It's me, chat. Me in every FPS.
Oh, who the fuck? Sir. Oh. Hey, you can't. Why you sitting there? You tired, man.
He too tired. He too tired. He's too tired. Look how tired he is, chat. He's just too tired. He's just too tired. He's just tired, man. He's just too tired. He's too tired. He go sleep, man. He's just too tired. Look how tired he is. He's just so tired. Too tired. Just so tired.
You must make sure that you do not appear here again.
Okay.
Bailiff, whack his pee-pee.
Goldfish.
I think I made it better, chat.
On little crackers, always baked and made with real cheese. The snack that smiles back. Ball sack.
I'm tired of running this one.
Goldfish. The fun little crackers, always baked and made with real cheese. The snack that smiles back. Ball sack.
It's just so subtle. It's just he slipped it right in there. This is a normal advertisement. Don't worry about ball sack. Oh, ha, ha, ha.
Can't I left it at the.
Chat, we're playing. We're gonna play metal. We're gonna play Metal Gear. We're gonna play Metal Gear. We're gonna play Metal. We're gonna play Metal Gear. We're gonna play Metal Gear. Okay, chat. We're gonna play Metal Gear. For no reason. For no reason at all. No reason. But if they do, you know, if that, it's fine. We're gonna play Metal Gear. Hey, what? No, I don't know what you're talking. Nah, no reason. No, I like Solid Snake. I like Snake. I like his snakes. I like I like the boss with
Convention center, and now it's all flooded. The water probably destroyed it.
If water destroys the booger ball, then why didn't the water destroy it when the booger ball was clogging the dam?
Shut the fuck up.
Remember what Elmo taught you, Rocco?
All right, Rocco.
You are deformed.
What?
And you are ugly.
No.
And these are crimes for which the world shows little pity.
Rocco! How could you, Elmo?
Out there they'll regard you as a monster. Out there they will
Oh, Rocco.
Do as Elmo says, obey and stay.
Just fucking, fuck you, Rocco, apparently. Don't do it. Don't jump, Rocco. Don't jump, Rocco. You have so much to live for. Rocco, don't do it. Don't jump. It's okay. Oh, it's fine. Okay, he's not. It's fine.
Macaroni cheese, macaroni cheese, macaroni cheese, macaroni cheese. I love macaroni cheese is the one for me.
Now, Lisa.
Which one of you? Which one of you? Who submitted that? Who submitted that? Who submitted that? Who was it? Hands in the air. Put your hands in the air for who did it? Who submitted it? Huh? Arrest them. Take them away. Put them in a cell. Never let them see the light of day. In a cell. You're going in a cell. Putting you in prison. Putting you in prison. It's fine.
If you want a good job, you need to be a jack of all trades.
All right.
Got it. Jack off all the trades.
Jack off all the trades.
I'm a jack 'em all, don't worry.
No, that's not what I said.
And I also need an electrician and a welder for this project. Just go ahead and stand in a circle around me.
Fuck ass goblin, chat. Fuck ass goblin.
To help me dispose of a murder weapon. What?
Ooh.
Don't worry, lads, I haven't done the murder yet. Chocolate is the perfect medium for crime. Once you've used the weapon, you can eat it and get rid of the evidence. Anyway, on with the killing. This is Tony Mushroom. He tried to steal my secret recipe for Bakewell tart.
I'm sorry, Patricia, I'm sorry!
Patricia, you shouldn't murder someone over a recipe.
You should.
Well, I'm going to. Baking is a cutthroat business. Now brace yourself, Tony Mushroom. This is gonna be a real shitter of a stabbing. Oh, we can't let you kill this little mushroom fellow.
I'll never step foot near this cottage again! Are you kidding me? Thank you so much!
But you should have listened to Patricia. Nigel, no!
How dare he?
I see those magic hands of yours glow while I embed this chocolate knife in your gullet. I'll be taking that. Your baking empire will be in ashes when I'm finished. You're a real evil bastard, you are, Tony Mushroom. Like you said, baking is a cutthroat business. Nigel! Oh, bloody hell, it's melting. It's all over me mushroom hand. Gross, I hate chocolate, I hate it! Nobody badmouth chocolate in my house.
This is so intense.
On this, you fumble shit. Are you okay, Nigel? Don't fill up on neck chocolate, Nigel. We've got a murder weapon to eat. Yay!
That was okay, I like that. That was amazing. That was amazing. That was amazing.
Hey, no running around the pool. Yeah, what are you gonna do about it, lifeguard?
It's just fucking shrimp. Wait, what? Ooh, okay. That was good. Just come worse in. Where'd the fucking shrimp come from? Where'd the fuck? Wait. I need cinema. Amazing. Very good. Oh, hydrate. Thank you for the hydrate. Cheers. Okay. I'm applauding. Jeez. When Chica ran away into the desert.
She's gone.
It's me. That's me. That's me.
Oh no.
That's me.
Oh no.
I just.
She's gone. Oh no. Chica! Oh no.
Wait, why does this keep looping? Why? How many times is in here?
She's gone. She's gone. Oh no. Chica!
Oh, fine.
Oh, no.
I'm such a good doggy. I'm such a good dog. What? How many times is it? Wait. Alright.
She's gone. Oh no.
Okay, I think we...
Chica! Oh no.
God.
She got that boom 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 boom, and now I'm in her room boom 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 boom. She
Hey chat. Hey chat. Stop drawing me pregnant. Stop drawing me pregnant. I know I have an emo of it now. Stop drawing me pregnant. No. Hey, don't draw me pregnant. Okay. Let me get big again. 1 second. There we go. Nice and big. Fucking you and your Don't worry about it. Okay? Oh, I also forgot I need to reenact the alerts. Cool. All right. Where were we, chat? Draw whom pregnant? Me pregnant. I've been drawn pregnant so many. No. Aiko. I know you're a very talented artist. I'm commissioning you to do something else. No. Hey. No. Okay. All right.
I hate you. You're not a rapper. I am a rapper. I hate you.
Bars. Absolute fucking bars. No. Need it again. One more time. Here we go. You ready?
I hate you. You're not a rapper. I am a rapper. I hate you.
And you know what the best part is? It works for any rapper. He can do that to anybody. It's a universal diss. It will always work, chat. Always. It's the best. Just he's a pro. Also, I didn't almost shave off my eyebrow earlier. Anyways. Oh no.
We're gonna get hands, you dickhead.
We're gonna get hands, you dickhead. Oh, I've shaved off part of my eyebrow on accident. It doesn't matter. It's fine. Don't worry about me shaving off part of my eyebrow. It's fine. Okay, so I had like 3 hairs that are like extra long on my eyebrow for some reason. I'm like, this is annoying, and I don't want to try to pluck them out because it's gonna thin out my eyebrow. So let me use a body shaver to you know, like remove part of my eyebrow. And apparently the spacing is too much, and it just took a giant chunk out of my eyebrow. So you know, luckily my hair is long and nobody can see it. But no, most of the eyebrow is still there. Most of the eyebrow is still there. It's fine. It's fine. It's fine. Anyways.
Yeah? You sick fuck! We're gonna get hits, you dickhead!
Here we go. Here we go. Okay. Hey! Who? Eddie! How fucking dare you? Ari, it was you? Which one was it? Rude. So mean, all of you. Why is it here again? What the fuck? Why is he here twice?
I would assume you are, what's the opposite of homosexual?
Heterosexual.
I would assume his ass is a homosexual.
Uh-huh.
So if he was
Homosexual.
You gotta say heterosexual.
a heterosexual. So if he was a heterosexuals, bro,
if he was ahead of the sexual, you know me. Them sexuals, I'm ahead of them. I'm ahead of the sexuals every time. Ahead of the head of the sexuals. Flex, I can't flex. My arms don't move. I'm a paraplegic.
I'm gonna assume that you ahead of the sexuals and bro ahead of the sexuals too. I'm already ahead of the sexuals. So I'm assuming everybody who hangs with me is ahead of the sexuals, bro. If you're not ahead of these sexuals, then
Yo, I gotta be tweaking, but I gotta
ahead of the sexuals.
Where the toilets at, my nigga?
Yo,
what it down?
Oh. What the guy who thought of paper.
What if we took the skin off of this? Something here. What if we like a storage for your thoughts? What if we flatten this? Have you ever had a thought but when you thought it and you just wanted to have it and take it and keep it?
The Big Mac guy. No, yeah, the fucking Big Mac guy.
There's
Yeah.
something in here that we're missing. We can make so many things out of this.
Big Mac sucks. Big Mac's the worst.
Something here. We slice it, then we slice it again. We take that slice, boom, slice it again. What happens if we keep slicing? What happens if we keep slicing? Damn! So I'm like, if we can, there's something. I don't know. I just want to try to figure out. I don't know. The skin.
The skin.
We can put stuff on the skin, and then when we put on the skin, we can use what we got from the tree too. I'm telling you, there's something here. Fuck. Cut it again, and we keep cutting it thinner and thinner. What would happen? We don't know. We have to figure it out.
No. I'm not the Big Mac guy. I'm the guy who hates the Big Mac. The Big Mac is an awful fucking sandwich. It is a horrible, horrible, horrible abomination of a sandwich. It is a waste of materials, of fucking bread, of meats, of no cheese, apparently, of everything. Big Mac is garbage. Throw it away. Throw it away. Throw it away. Throw it away. Throw away. No. Bad sandwich. No. I did not make out with a Big Mac. You wrote me making out with a... Chat. Lovelies. Okay. Big Mac. Bread. Special sauce. Lettuce. Onions. Pickles. Meat. Tiny fucking meat patty. Tiny meat patty. The smallest meat patty. And then more bread. Okay? Then underneath that, more lettuce, onions, pickles, sauce. Twice the amount of sauce there needs to be on this thing. Tiny fucking meat patty. More bread. Who portioned this thing out? Who made this sandwich? It's horrible. It's too big and too small. It's small in all the places you don't want it to be, and it's too big in all the other places. It's bad. Okay. Yeah, I don't like a small bit of meat, chat. If it's gonna be meat, it better be throbbing. Anyways, so what? Clip what? What are we clipping? Okay, good times, chat. Do you remember that time when something happened earlier? I don't. Come on. Oh, poor man.
Don't worry at, man. Hey, bro, the lightning bug, he trying to flex. Hold on. This ain't time for real smooth. He trying to hold off. He chilling. He really chilling. He waiting on his time to shine.
Is this the same guys from before with the tire? Is this the same ones with the tire from before? Or they're just talking over each other? I fucking love that. Hey, you waiting there? He's there. Oh. Goofy ass laugh.
Bro, man's trying to go short, and the train comes in. 1,311 minutes. Fucking.
Poor bastard.
Marcello, what is it? What you doing? Holding a bomba.
Okay.
Mamma mia, Marcello, that's not how you hold a bomba. What do you mean? This is how you hold a bomba. Alberto, come and look at Marcello. Mamma mia! Giuseppe, come and look at Marcello.
That's what I like to see. Let's fund the company.
What the fuck, Dios? Okay.
Progress report. It's another code. Skipper, I can't make it out. You, higher mammal. Can you read?
No, Phil can read though. Phil. Ship to Kenya. Wildlife Preserve, Africa.
Africa? That ain't gonna fly. Rico!
What the fuck? Make me that paper. What the fuck is... Oh, damn. Damn.
I'm sorry, man. I'm sorry. I really have a lot of messages. I'm so sorry. Okay, let me lock in. Ready? Right. So as I was saying,
Let me lock in. It's the fucking stupid ones that get me every time. Fucking.
Hi, babe.
Oh no, I missed it. Wait, we gotta go back. I need it.
I'm sorry, man. I'm really sorry, bro. I'm sorry. Okay, let me lock in. Ready?
Okay.
Right. So as I was saying,
Huh?
are you?
So, hey, what's up, chat?
Baby.
Sorry.
I don't want to do the thing. I'm in class right now. Fine. Don't be mad at me, okay? I love you. Bye-bye.
Imagine being right behind him. Imagine being right behind him as he's doing that. What? Is this that horse game? Oh. Oh, poor fish. Who allowed him to exist? Kill him.
Did you know?
No.
That Pokemon in real life are a lot bigger than what they are on the TV show.
Oh.
Brad, it's getting late, and the night is calling your name.
Yeah?
You don't have to keep your eyes open anymore. Just let them close.
Okay.
Let the world fade, and let me stay with you.
Come in.
The quiet swallows everything. Rest now, Brad. I'll keep watch.
Till I can get my satisfaction. Push me, and then just touch me, till I get my satisfaction.
Chat, just let me have your sleep paralysis demons. I will sleep with your sleep paralysis demons. Why do bartenders always shake it up high?
Hey, how you doing, love mama? Let me whisper in your ear. Tell you something that you might like to hear. Got some ass, my ass.
Okay. So chat, that's all the short ones. And then people sent me a bunch of long ones. Because I couldn't put those in here because you all just sent links and didn't send downloads. And so instead of sending downloads, you sent me links. So I have to go to the YouTube page itself to play it instead of sending me the download, which would make it so much easier. And I could have just loaded into the video. But it's okay. It's okay. It's okay. It's fine. It's fine. I understand. So we're not going to play all the way through these. We're going to play all the way through these. But. No, you're not allowed to leave. You did this. So we're it is not. There is 30,000 fucking websites that'll do it for you. How do you think I make any of my videos? You see my TikTok where there's the song in the background? Guess what? Oh no, Aura, I haven't. We're not done. We're not done. We're not done. What do you mean TOS? Any of the music I use from YouTube is done. That is royalty-free music. I just download from YouTube instead of using whatever source. I do get them legally. The videos the songs I get are legal. I only download them off YouTube, but they are royalty-free songs. Fight me. Okay. Don't worry, Vanya. Don't worry, Vanya. I'm safe. I'm a good boy. I'm not breaking any laws. Except the law of equivalent exchange, chat. I break the law of equivalent exchange all the time. You ready, chat? This is an 8-minute long video. Wait, it's broken. Chat, it's broken. Chat, it's broken. There we go. Okay. I fixed it. Yes, it's an 8-minute long video. We got this, chat. We can do it. We can... That's totally Jordan. Look at the pavement. The pavement's Jordan. Look at the leaf. The leaves are Jordan leaves right there. Okay. Egypt. It's Egypt. It's Egypt, chat. It's Egypt, chat. Chat, it's Egypt. Damn it. I was close. It had that hue, you know, like they do in the movies. Mexico. Damn it! I was close. It's across an ocean, but it was in the same latitude longitude line. Same. It's okay. I also think it's Mexico. See, I was just one ahead. One ahead. Okay. Sweden. Damn it. Okay, that's enough of that. I can't keep going. I can't. It's good. I like the video. It's well made. Chat. I can only do so much. Or an ads? Chat, we're gonna be taking an ad break real quick. So chat, go stretch your legs. Take a little break. While we're taking a little break, we're gonna take a little ad break. It's gonna be a little 5-minute ad break. 5-minute ad break. 5-minute ad break. 5-minute ads. Do. You know what that means, chat? You know what it means? So, Chad, do you want to do one last one, or do we want to come back? What's the idea? We can go up to level 6 right now, and y'all can try it, or do you want to do, or are we coming back? One more round? All right, do one more round. I'm gonna eat a little sandwich then. Let's do it. One of the letters is fake this time. There is only one letter I. It's the J. One of the J's is fake. Fuck it, chat. We're going to failure. Y'all got this. I think y'all just went up 2 more levels anyway, so let's see how far y'all can go. You got it, right? You got it. All right, let's go up another one. You're now going to be on level 9, chat. Level 9. If you can break level 10, that'd be cool. Be very cool. Take care of one of the letters is fake. Look how few letters there are. Try pine. Pine is a word. Dine. Chat, the D is fake. Nice. There's only one E. You motherfuckers. Welcome to level 12. What the fuck? Okay, keep going, keep going. Keep it up, keep it up. One of the letters is fake. Vellum. Vellum. Oh, come on, chat. You got this. What happened? What happened, chat? Mm-hmm. God, it's only the 4-letter words, chat. It's only the 4-letter words left. Rumph. You are all doing very well, surprisingly. Up another 2 levels. Come on, come on. Keep it up, keep it up. Oh, one of them's hidden. Oh my god, chat, what the fuck? Okay. Here, let's try a few vowels. Rail, rally. Layer, leer. Yeah, M's definitely fake. It is E, it's E, it's E. Well, we knew it was E. We got really earlier. I'm still proud of you, chat. I'm still proud of you, chat. You all did amazing. You did so fucking well. Amazing, 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 amazing. Y'all did good. Y'all did so good. Level 14 is impressive, chat. Level 14 is impressive. Don't let anybody tell you it's not. I mean, it's getting hard. Hey, yo. Hey, yo. Hey, yo. Hey, yo. It's getting hard. It's getting hard. We getting hard in here? No, I'm proud of all. I'm proud of all. I'm proud of all. All right, where were we? Okay. I have to put subtitles on? We sit beside each other in the car, but there's no music playing. Oh, don't worry about it. Okay. Is she dating her brother? Is this gonna be something stupid? Okay, no, they're just getting married. Whatever. Okay. Okay. No, I figured it out. Yeah. I knew it. I knew it. You could feel it. You could feel it in the air, chat. You could feel it in the air. Right as soon as he ripped off just the guy, I'm just like, oh, mm-hmm. Knew it. Knew it. Knew it. Ah. Gay. All right, what do we have next? The fuck is this? What is this? Oh, jeez. At least I only dropped 14 of them. Yo, I dropped my fucking pipes, chat. What the fuck am I gonna do? All right, what else? What else we got? Did you send it to me? 'Cause I'm an Mm-hmm. Ooh, ooh. Wait, wait a second. Wait, what's this? Hello, mother. Okay. Hi, hi. Hi, Desi. Mwah. Big ass ears. This is 5 minutes long. No, I'm not watching a 5-minute long video for a punchline. That is in the title. That is in the fucking title. The 5-minute, no, it's not worth it. It's not worth it, chat. No, you don't get the punchline. No punchline. Chat. Life is so short. Life is so short, and we have to choose the things that we spend our time on. And I would like y'all to know that in the many limited years that I have on this earth, I have to listen to this because of you. Okay? Okay, so understand everything that happens after this. The seconds, minutes that you're taking from my life, this is what you chose to do with it. Hey, chat, you want to watch it again? No. 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 It's never happened. But it's fine. It's fine. Why are there so many? Why are there so many? Fine. Fine. Chad, if you want me to make one of these, give me a recommendation. Post it in the Discord. Post in stream recommendations and maybe I'll fucking do it. Well, that's amazing. That's absolutely amazing. I actually kind of like that one near the end because of his fucking dramatic ass coughing. All right, here we go. Let's see what we have. Why are there so many? Who's doing this? You're fucking doing this, chat. Who's doing this to me? I just can't do this, chat. No. The rubber with rats. Tourette's causes you. No, we're not going to play that one. Tourette's causes you to say the N-word to your boyfriend's brother on Juneteenth ASMR. And no. No, that one's not getting played, chat. That one, no, that almost auto played. What the fuck is? Is this 34? Is this 30? Is this 34 minutes, Neeks? Maybe I didn't understand that it was actually 34 minutes. Is this gonna be okay? Wait, chat. We're gonna speed it up a little bit. I'm gonna watch it at 2 times speed. We're gonna see him at maximum speed. Wait, I think we can increase this. We can do 4 times speed. God, look how fast he's going. Where the fuck did that come? Wait. Where did that come from? No. We gotta go back. I gotta go back. I missed. Huh? Where'd it come from? So there, he's magic. He's magic. It wasn't there before. You know, I always wonder about these knives. Are they like any decent quality? Like, is the metal even worthwhile using? He does test it at the end. My guess. Oh, Chad, did you know? Okay. So there is a place that does forging near me, and they teach forging classes, and it would cost me $200 to go take a forging class. And I am so fucking broke, but I want to go take a forging class so badly. Imagine, chat. Imagine me forging something. Addie? You forge? Really? Vel forges? Hey, Addie, can you like flex for me real quick and then like measure your arms, measure the muscles on the arms, and just tell me how thick your arm muscles are? There's a place near us too, and it's so expensive. God, it looks so cool though. Like, I mean, I was taking some like riding courses nearby, and like that was decently expensive, but then like, God, Addie is secretly fucking swole. I believe it. A phlegbotomy tech course for fun? What do you... All right, chat, here's the plan. If we get to a point where, like, we're making decent money here, I'm going to take a new course every week, and then I'm going to come back and tell you all about the course, okay? Just going to be a random fucking course. Y'all can vote on the course I take, and we'll do that. Sodium borax, okay. Hey, Addie, do you want to get me into shape? Sweetie, lovely, honey. Do you want to help me get into shape? Actually, right now, I'm doing very, very stupid exercises to see if they work. But we'll see. You're a licensed vampire. Are you licensed? Are you a licensed Limbaugh? Okay, fine. Come licensedly drink my blood. Hey Neeks, very slow with just like slight pressure. That's what you want. This is how you want your sex. No, Neeks, come on. This you want. That's how you want to get pounded, right there. Very slow and without much pressure. Yeah, you know, Neeks, I thought you're a little bit freakier than that one, honestly. But, you know, you do you. You do you, sweetie. It leads to the faster. I'm sure. Mm-hmm. Oh, I'm also... My hydraulic press goes really fast when I press metal. Ooh. You have a hydraulic press? You have a hydraulic press? You live in the forest? Yes, Neeks? Ban Neeks permanently for 3,000 years. Don't actually ban Neeks. Don't actually ban Neeks. Do not actually do it. I know, Vanya. I know. I apologize. I know. I'm sorry. Chat, you can't eat this. You can't eat this. It would kill you. You would be dead. Look at that man's beard. Do you think it's that texture because of the fire? His beard is just melted. It cannot get longer than that because there's so much heat. It just stops growing past that point. This is kill you. It can get so much faster than that. Don't. I'm sorry, Vanya. What was that? Oh, that makes so much sense. Stop trying to eat it, chat. Stop trying to eat it. That's how you die. That's how you die, chat. You could take it. No, you can't eat metal. No, this is normal speed. I slowed it back down because he was teleporting things in. No, the stars don't make you able to eat metal, chat. It's a square. Why would you want to take it that way? That would not be pleasant. Dad, we don't talk about the burrito. Okay. Chat, you don't know what impurities are in there. It's still metal. It's still. Why he making it small? 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 Why is small? Why he cut? It was big. Why small? Where did these other pieces come from? What are these other pieces? He's cheating, chat. He's cheating. He's bringing other pieces in. Those aren't the same pieces. Where did these pieces come from? He's cheating. No, those new ones are too square. Those new ones are more square. He's cheating. He's cheating, chat. He bought those pieces. That's only half screw. That could be other metal. You're a half screw? I mean, you want to help me? I'm not going to say that. I'm not going to say that. Not going to... Huh. Sodium What the fuck does this do? Why is he putting, what is he putting the white powder on it? Chat, he's wasting all the good coke. He's wasting all the good coke. Chat, we can't just watch knife forging videos. We can't just watch knife forging. Okay, okay. I like this. It's, oh, he's using a hammer with us. He's using a hand hammer. Hand hammer. Hand hammer, chat. Oh, this is the good stuff. Oh, that's better. No, but he's doing the hand hammer. The hand hammer is so much better. I hate the hydraulic press. Hand hammer all the way. There you go. Look at the muscles. Look at the muscles you get from it. And the grip strength. There you go. There you go. That's so much better. Okay, we'll skip forward. Wait. No, let's get some shaping. Where's the shaping? Okay, so he cuts it out. Look, I want to see the strength of a man. I don't want to see the strength of a machine. Machines are great and all, but I want to see the strength of a man do that. You know? It makes it so much better. I love those fucking blacksmiths with their huge arms where they're just like, yeah, watch me just like one-handedly crush an apple or rip apart a can. Okay, he's cutting. Let's get some shaping. Okay. I know hand hammering is so hard. That's why I like it. I love when a man mans. Grinding. Okay, let's see it. Shut up, Daigo. He quench. It's the quench, yes. Fine. There we go. Let's get the test. I cannot. And he cuts his arm and he dies. He bleeds out. All right, here we go. Stab the bottle, stab it, cut it, cut the bottle. Ooh, there you go, baby. You fuck up that bottle. God, you know, half the plastics in the ocean are caused by blacksmiths testing knives. Treat me like that fucking piece of wood and kill me. Gorgeous, 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 gorgeous. Can he meme abs? Okay, love it, love it, love it. Chat, you know what we're going to end up watching eventually? We're going to watch those stupid, the knife fighter people. Did you clean your whack-ass room yet? No. No. And let me see if there's any other ones that I've missed here. Let me go check the media share real quick. Did you do laundry? No. What didn't I do? I tried to clean. I had to go get my groceries and food. I mean, the choice was eating food or, when did you submit it? When did you submit it? And was it a TikTok or was it a download? Thank you, Neeks. Because I don't... I mean, I see this one. Oh, what the fuck? How the fuck is... How did I miss that one? 1 second. How did I miss... It was right there. Huh. I don't know. Okay, I got you, Aura. I got you. 1 second. 1 second. This one's... it looks like Schlatt, and I like Schlatt, so Schlatt's worth it. Schlatt's definitely worth it. Give me a sec. That's not... That's... There it is. You're just gonna hook. Nope. 1 second. 2 minutes long. Oh, I'm excited. Okay. Hey, Aura. Aura, if this isn't worth it, you know what I'm gonna do to you, right? You know what's gonna you know what happens. You know what happens to Monzo upset me, right, Aura? It's fine. It's fine. You know what's gonna happen. No, it's listen, Aura. If it's not a good video, you have a chance. You told me to stop. You told me to put it on. It better be good. You know what happens. All right? Okay. Chat, don't worry. Don't worry about it. Aura's chosen to do this to himself. He's risking it all here.
How quickly can we do a loaf?
He's so small.
Trevor,
Why is
snap
this?
out of it, bro. Push the bread down. Push him down, bro. Feed it. No butter. Get that fucking butter, man. Get this fucking piece in. Full loaf. Fuck. We need more butter. They're coming out. They're coming out. Order up. Order up. Serve it. I'm dialing in the heat. I'm going too fast. You're going too fast. Get the load out. I'm putting it back in. Please another round. We just got another 1,500 orders. 1,500 coming right up. From who's plating them? There's too many. Start eating them. Start eating them. I see you. Nothing gives me more power than bread. Just wish I could eat some more fucking bread, man. We're limited by our human nature. My throat's closing, Trevor. Come on, open up. This one's buttered. Someone's gotta make these orders come through it. It's not me, it's nobody.
Why are they? Don't put more bread. Don't put more bread. Don't put more bread. The bread of damnation.
Will you do me a favor? Dude, pause. Dude, stop the cameras. What's wrong? What the fuck happened?
Not the tears. Not the tears.
What happened, man?
Anyways, Aura. We'll think about it. I'll think about it. I don't know if that one's good enough. I don't know if it really made me laugh. Honestly, I don't know if it was ha ha he he funny, but you know, it was something. So well, I'll keep it under consideration. Okay, we'll keep it under consideration. Yeah, it's fine. Don't worry. Just don't worry. Don't worry about it. It's fine. It's fine. Chat. Stay out of this chat. Stay out of this chat. It's between us. It's fine. Anyways, hi everybody. We said we were gonna watch some clips of Brennan Lee Mulligan. Brennan Lee Mulligan, best of clips, because I don't think everybody understands what Brennan Lee Mulligan is. The fuck is the Neeks? Don't start. The intro is not friendly. What is it? A man going and then saying a slur? Vanya has a video. It has a no. There's no dicks allowed. I'm sorry. I have a cutoff. Vanya, your name's not Dick. But I was talking to you earlier. You have a video or something? So, Bradley Mulligan chat. Do you know Dr. Tran? I do know Dr. Tran. But yes, I wanted to bring that up though because Brandon Lee Mulligan earlier on TikTok, I guarantee it was from this fucking show. It was from Echo Rose from this fucking show, and that's what happened. That's what happened. Chat is just that he was on the show. That's why he did the fucking. He's amazing though. Oh yeah. No. Princess. What's up, Princess? Who are we calling Princess? But anyways, I love this man. He's one of my all-time favorite men, and I hope to meet him one day. Yes. Oh, also this. Hello, Mama Ellie. Don't worry about this. Don't worry about it. Don't worry about this. It's fine. All right, chat. Roll a dexterity saving throw to see if you can get on your knees. That you critically. Okay. Well, so you fall flat on your face, but it's okay. You know, just roll me a performance check. Roll me a performance check, and maybe you can, sexily recover from this blunder. And one again. How are you rolling so many ones? You sprained something. You have pulled something in your back. You're splayed out on the floor, and honestly, we're just rolls a 12. 12. It's Vanya Banana. Venus lurks. Wow, Venus immediately leaves. Okay. Okay. What were we doing? What were we doing, chat? I swear I was gonna watch something else. I wanted to watch Jay Schlatt's bread video. Do we have time? What time is it, chat? Do we have time? Do we have time for Jay Schlatt's bread video? Do we have time? Okay, we have time. Thank you for the lurk. No. Here we go. No. I want to see him do the fancy Japanese toaster, chat. Okay. I want to do this, chat. I want to do this so bad, but it's so much money. That toaster's like $400. Don't put your dick in a Japanese toaster. I would never do this, chat. I would never. I've never done that before. Never. Me? No. Or time yourself out. We don't want any of those messages out there. Don't you delete your messages. Stop exposing me. Stop exposing me like this, boy. You see, you cause me heart problems, chat. Clearly. It's you, not me. Why does he look like an unemployed hitman? Who wears leather gloves like this casually? Why does he look like an look how sad he's this is an unemployed hitman right here. I mean like he's just new to the job. That is solid bread. That is solid bread. No brioche for you, chat. Fire. There's not going to be much of it. Only 6K away? Only 6K away from what? Only 6K away from what? Only 6K away from what? I have this fucking toaster, chat. I have this fucking toaster. Ready, set, out. Wait, is that where my toaster? I thought I put it. I thought it was in the fork drawer. I thought I left the toaster in the fork drawer. If it's not in my fork drawer, chat, if my toaster is not in the fork drawer, I'm gonna be. No, it won't fit underneath my bed. There's cables. There's too many cables. You took my cables. That's exactly how the toaster is every time. That's how the toaster is every single time. But it does toast it very well. It's like your most standard toaster. What does that mean? Okay, chat. No. Okay, look at the toast. No, we need no. Look at the toast. Zoom in on the toast. Wrinkled? Burnt? What? Rug burn? Rug burn? What are you doing with the rug? Oh my god, it's an advertisement. Oh my god, look at the advertisement. Advertisement. Ha, fuck you! Fuck you, Slat! I'm not giving you any fucking money, Slat. You have too much money as it is. And I know you own G-Subs, and so this is probably gonna fuck me when I'm trying to get your fucking money myself. But I'm not gonna give you any yet. I'm not giving you any money yet until you give me the fucking affiliate link. Do you understand me, Slat? I know you can't hear me, but I hope you can feel my anger. I'm coming for you. Open your fucking application, Slat. Open them. Open them, Slat. Anyways, sorry. Where's Bob Ross? Sorry, chat. I blacked out there for a second. What are we talking about? Oh, look, bread. God, I love toasters. Have I ever told you how much I like sandwiches, chat? God, sandwiches are so good. Sandwiches are so good. Do you think any of the... Do you think any of these are like legal? Like, do you think Bob Ross like signed off on this, or his family? He's just got to poop. He's got to poop. He's just got to poop, chat. His little face was like, Goofy. That just looks awful. I thought that was mine. I almost screamed, chat. God, they're so short. See, chat, the reason why I can't be famous and popular is because, did you see how short that man is? He had to jump to hit that. You have to be short to be famous. It's how you build up the funny in your body. You build up all the fame in your tiny little body, and then it comes shooting out, and then you can be really famous. I'm too tall to be popular. It's what it is. Only short people are allowed popularity. Yeah, exactly. 6 feet. 6 feet. If they were 6'4", they wouldn't be famous. Vanya, you're short. You're allowed to become famous one day. Wait, did you fucking clip me? Did you? Wait a second. Golden. Okay. Post it as a TikTok. Oh. Oh. I'll do it. you know, you know, you know, you know, you know who else? You know who else has a 10-inch long slot? Anyways. I have the same problem. Only 1.5 pieces fit. No, I'm not okay. It's okay. This is what happens when I'm around Jay Schlatt, is it ruins me mentally. He's infectious, chat, is what it is. I mean, like, what do you think happened back in the 90s? What do you think fucking Jay Schlatt did in 1999? He infected them, chat. And that is why things went the way they did. 1999, Google, Jay Schlatt. I will actively pay Vanya to write fanfics with me and the G-Subs flavors, as well as getting every one of the flavors to drink while reading the fanfic. Yes, I will go fucking insane, chat. Smeg! Okay, now we'll get into it. Now we're getting to it, chat. Okay, here it comes. Here it comes. By the way, this is a one slice bread toaster. One slice. So if you want a whole sandwich, no. Take the tray out. Take the tray out. Without the tray, you idiot. You idiot. It's toast. You need to toast it on both sides, you idiot. Schlatt. You're supposed to be some sort of G. No. Why waste the time? Ah. He's excuse me. What is? Why is the pin? Why is the pin out? Why did he arm it? Why did he arm it? Why is it falling apart? Yeah, you dumb fuck. You dumb fuck. Oh my god, you should toast me. You need to cook both sides. Let's put something underneath it so it doesn't cook evenly. You fucking Sorry, I'm okay, chat. I'm okay. It's fine. I'm totally normal about this situation, and you know, it's not. I'm not angry. I'm not. It's fine. It's fine. It's okay. It's fine. Or I'm gonna take this out on you later. I mean, what? Come on. Ooh. Ooh. That's... Vanya, this week's auras. I can give a... Oh! He's just fucking no, tell me you all watched it. Tell me you all saw him just go. He just straight into the fucking soap. Straight into the fucking soap. Straight into the soap. Yes, chat. This is the best toaster. This is apparently the best toaster. It's a one slice toaster, but apparently it is insanely good. Wait. Mitsubishi electric bread oven, retro brown toaster, which burns one sheet of Ultimate. You're telling me somebody bought this toaster that says, "Hi, I'm gonna burn your bread. I'm just gonna burn your bread." Burns one sheet of Ultimate. What is Ultimate? I don't know. But apparently they are legitimately like amazing. Like they're like it cooks toast perfectly, apparently. Like the best bread toasting experience. it's burning. Chat's burning. Chat's just chat. It's you put it at too thick. You put it at too thick. It's not as thick as you thought it was. It's what? 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 It was burning. There was smoke. How is? That was not steam. You told it to burn it. It was perfect. Why would you do that? Yeah. Yeah. I hate toaster ovens, chat. I hate toaster ovens. I hate toaster ovens so much. Gene, why do you hate toaster ovens? Because they're ovens. They're not toasters. I hate going to a place like, yeah, we have a toaster, and they pull out one of these fuckers. Because it never toasts like a toaster does. Because it doesn't function like a toaster does. Chet, do you know how a toaster functions? Chet, do you want to know how a fucking toaster functions? No, it's not useful. We're talking about this right now. Do you know how a toaster functions, chat? Do you want to know how a fucking toaster functions? Okay? There's a little metal coil inside of it, okay? And as it heats up, it warms the coil because, you know, the toast blocks up a certain amount of the coil. And so once the coil heats up to a certain point, which is where you've set the toastiness level, it bloop, springs. And it releases the toast at the same temperature every time. At the same temperature every single fucking time. And that's why you get nice toast in a toaster. And it's always easy, and you don't gotta pay attention to it. How do fucking toaster ovens work? They're timered. These are timered. And they're so much worse because you have to guess every single time. Why do you think you can do different kinds of toast in a toaster and they always turn out the same? Because it's about the heat. It's about the fucking heat in a toaster. But a toaster oven, you do it by time, and so you have to figure out every single time for every new kind of bread what the right type of time is. Okay? Okay? So, fucking toasters. Toasters are better. Toaster ovens are not toasters. Toaster ovens are not toasters or toaster ovens. It's fine. They're fine. They're fine. They're totally fine. Toaster ovens are toasters. Fuck you. What do you mean? Why am I getting several kinds of bread? A fucking sourdough, a brioche, a white, a whole grain, a fucking bagel. Why are you not eating multiple kinds of bread, huh? Chat, my microwave air fries, so I don't think I have any right to talk about air fryers. My microwave can both microwave and air fry. So I'm not going to talk about air fryers. Where were I? Anyways, where are we? That's a toaster oven, not a toaster. Get it out of here. Get it out of here. It's a fucking oven. Yeah, no, pizza, like a slice of pizza, not a pizza. You have an oven. Get a toaster, get an oven. You don't need a fucking toaster oven. It's just a worse version of both.
It's fucking stupid. It's so stupid.
Shit. Man's gonna kill himself. Man's gonna electrocute himself. I hope you electrocute yourself, Schlatt. This is not a toaster. I mean, I'm kidding. Don't electrocute Schlatt. I hope Schlatt is fine and nothing ever happens to Schlatt. Happy birthday, by the way. Hey, thank you for the sub. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. Mwah. Did I read that right? Oh my God, you won! Congratulations on your VIP, which will last until I decide to no longer give people VIP. But for now, you have VIP. Are you ready? You're not VIP. Cool. VIP, M31. That's not how that works. There you go. You gotta be VIP. And until we do the rebrand and everything. And do you like toast? I don't like toaster oven. I do have a throne. I do have a throne. You can don't know. Don't buy me a fucking toaster oven. Can we have a toaster oven for the? You know what? You know what? Yeah. You don't know the basement can have a toaster oven because it sucks. Toaster ovens are awful. So yes, basement, you can have that's all you get. You're gonna cook everything in a fucking toaster oven, and then you too will hate it as much as I hate it. Okay? Okay. It's just turning orange, Schlatt. Okay, no, that one's kind of cool. There's actually like steam. Okay, wait. Okay, maybe it's cool. It might be okay, actually. This might be a step above. For like pizza. Yeah, no, the bread's gonna be soggy. But like, pizza would make sense. I hope it's wet. 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 Wet bread. What bread? Ugh, I'm such a good doggy. Yeah, because of the fucking toaster ovens, you gotta flip them. You gotta flip it in the toaster oven. Why your toaster, you put down bread and make the bread. Toaster oven? Yeah. It's ruined. That's awful. That's awful. No, on one side. Look at the other fucking side. Look at the lack of consistency. Look at that. Because you gotta flip it in a fucking toaster oven. No, chat, because I am fucking passionate about food. You don't understand how passionate I am about food. Okay, chat? And, like, if I'm going to have a thing that's going to do me food, like, you might as well put it in the oven. The only thing that's better about a fucking toaster oven versus an actual oven is that a toaster oven heats quicker, but it's less even. So, like, honestly, preheat the oven, walk the fuck away, do something else, and use a real fucking oven or a toaster. A cooking stream after I hit partner. We're not doing a cooking stream until I've done face reveal, just in case I accidentally dox myself. Or we hit, like, I don't know, 5,000 followers in, like, a week. But I'll be wearing my little wobble gloves so that nobody can actually see my hands. You can't ban me, I'm sorry. It bothers me that this is only $400. It bothers me that this is only $400. That one toaster was $200 some. Yes, Sonia? Oh no, I said like not docs. I mean like if I hit partner and I accidentally face reveal, or I accidentally like show off part of my room, and people are like, yeah. When we hit partner, I already said like you're gonna see my face, and so you can ideally track me down if you really wanted to with my face. Shit, I'll show my thighs all day, chat. Oh. It. We good now? Everything good? Are we good? We still static? All good? No, I said all static. Video's a little scuffed. You're a little scuffed. Sorry, I'm sorry. That was rude. What's wrong with it? I'm sorry, Vanya. No, come back, Vanya. Is it working? Are we okay? No, Vanya, please! The video has static now. Hey chat, it's 6:49. Guess what time it is? It's time for us to not watch this video anymore, because if it's static, fuck it. I give up. I give up. I give up. I give up. No. No, it's done. It's gone. It's over. It's over. I don't have the brain power to figure out the fucking video. Yes, I will take it out on Aura later. It's okay, chat. Aura will be fine. Aura will live. Aura will make it. We're almost at 3 hours. Oh, then we'll just talk for 20 minutes, okay? Okay, it's fine. It's fine. It's fine. Aura. You, I don't know what you did, Aura. I don't know how you fucked up my video and why you wanted to ruin the last few minutes of the stream. But Aura, it's fine. It's fine, Aura. It's fine. No, it's fine. It's fine. It's fine. It's fine. Don't worry. Nothing's gonna happen. It's fine. Don't be what? Yeah. No, you better be. You will be. You fucking will. I'm so over. Huh? Who the fuck is? Oh! So, okay, chat. So I have two phones, right? I have two phones. And one phone is logged into my iPhone, like my Apple account. And the other phone is also logged into my Apple account, but has my contacts. So every once in a while I'll look up and I'll see like a phone number go. I'm like, who the fuck is texting me this? And I look at it. I'm just like, is this a wrong number? What the fuck is this? And I look at my phone in my hand, and I'm like, oh, it's my good friend, Mr. Bubbles, or something. one for the plug and one for the hose. Addy, weed is legal here. I'll go light up. Where's my pen? Which one of you took it? Chat, which one of you took my fucking pen? I'm gonna have to go fucking light a burner on my stove to put the joint against to smoke. Just for that to happen. Did you know? No. I have more than once taken a napkin, put it on the stove burner to light it on fire, and then use that to light a joint because I kept losing my fucking lighter. I found a lighter! I actually have a lighter next to my bed. Can you? Oh, you just... You know how lighters usually have like a guard on them to like to stop them from like they have like the little thing they have to press down to like light the lighter, right? So the shop that I went to, all the lighters had that metal piece pre-removed. Which is like, they knew who they're selling to. And you can tell it's supposed to have it because the metal top piece is loose. Like it's like jiggles a little bit. So you can tell like it's like easy lighting. It's pink. Of course I have pink lighters. It's an Ultima. It's called Squipto. But yes, it's shit. I also need to, what is the thing on his head? Okay. I can show you the world, shining, shimmering, splendid. Is it still static, chat? Is it still static? Is it still static? Damn it. One of you broke it. I know you did. I know you. It's not. Andromeda, I just gave you fucking VIP. I just fucking gave you VIP. I gave you VIP and you immediately lied to me? You. Is it static? Which one of you are lying to me? Like he did to all those people, chat. We'll see, Aura. Ooh. Why does he smoke Slims? Why is he smoking Slims? Oh, okay, okay. No, you're fine, Andromeda. I'm just fucking with you. I know, but chat, he signed up for the abuse. Aura signed up for the abuse. I'm gonna spay Aura. Which also doesn't work. No. Chat, I don't even smoke cigarettes. I still know Slims suck. Slims were made for skinny women. Does it do shit? No. Yeah, diet cigs in a way of like, not at all. You're cheating. You're cheating. You fucking you can't. Yo, hey. You folded it in half. You fold it in half so you get the fucking no. Schlatt. If we're gonna be serious about your fucking toast here, no. If we're gonna be serious about your toast, be serious about it. Eat it like you would. Don't fold it in half so that it has the crunch on the top and the bottom. You know that it's improved the quality of the bread because you were so disgusted by the fact that it was going to be so soggy on one side. Eat it properly. Understand how garbage what you're making is. Don't. Oh. It's more a trial by fire, honestly. I'm gonna try to dox myself 5 times in an hour, and you need to stop me. This is the worst. This is the worst. This is the worst. They only got bread. They only got bread. So we don't know. Deja vu, I have been in this place before. I have been the streets feeling now it's a time to know. That's true, that's true. Cruce. This is how I interact with mods. And then I start crying. I start crying every time. You make me do this. I don't want to do this to you. What the fuck? No, we're not watching. We're not. We're done. We're done. Media night next week. Media night was successful, chat. How do you feel about media night? Did y'all like it? Did y'all enjoy our media night? Did you feel like did you Good night? Good night? Was it a good night? Y'all had fun? I had fun. I had a lot of fun. I drank half a bottle of wine and half a 2-liter bottle of soda. When did I drink this? And a hard cider? Where'd you come from? I don't remember you. Are you real? It's probably real, chat. It's fine. Where's the water? Ah. I did make a snack. I got a piece of Italian herb and cheese bread. I put ghee on it. Then I added some sun-dried tomatoes and added salt. And crushed red pepper. That's good. Made me happy. You see this man, chat? I'm looking at the face of a man right now, and there's the face of a man who closed his fucking partner applications to his energy drink powder, and here I sit, staring at it, being offered advanced and other energy drink powders, but no, the one that I want is closed. And why is it closed? Because of this man and his stupid, stupid face. Look how stupid that face is. He's the one who's preventing this, chat. Anyways, you know, as it does. So, chat, I had a lot of fun. It was a lot of good fun. Yeah, he has too much money, chat. We should take his money. Thank you, Eric. Woof, 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 woof. Is that a fire truck? What the fuck? Well, chat, I'm gonna see if anything's burning down outside. Hopefully there's not anything burning down. It's your birthday. Oh, 1 second. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Arctic Winter Wolf. Happy birthday to you. Mwah. Congratulations on your birthday. Congratulations. I hope it was a good one. Hope it was amazing. Good luck. But you're coming in right at the end of the stream. So unfortunately, I can't celebrate your birthday for much longer because I need to find somebody to raid. Chat, raid J Slat's house. This is a joke, Twitch. Don't actually raid J Slat's house. But actually do it if he doesn't open a partner application soon. But don't actually raid J Slat's house. It's against the law. You shouldn't do it. And yeah. So yeah. I'm gonna go edit a little. Can I get bark or a wolf, please? I'm not a dog, though. I'm a human. Do you see my little human ears? Not a dog. If I was a dog, sure, but no, I don't bark. I don't bark. I'm just a guy. I'm a silly little guy with my little human ears. You see, human ear, just pretty. No, I'm not a dog. Allie, don't you? Arf, 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 arf. I'm such a cute little puppy. How fucking dare you? How fucking dare you? Okay. Neeks, we only have to do ASMR in the morning. We only have to do ASMR in the morning. It is fine to do non-ASMR when it's not the morning because we didn't do ASMR right now. We only do ASMR when we're doing ASMR. So, let's see what we can find. He's so sweet, is he? If I find out I'm banned there already, I'm going to fight you. Kitnari? Okay, chat. We'll raid into him. Go say hi for me. Be a good boy and a girl and a whatever else you'd like to be. And I will be back here tomorrow. I need to make my schedule. And I need to clean. Fuck. Okay, lovelies. It's been a lovely, lovely stream. I had a great time. Go say hi for me. Let's do a little raid message. What do we got? We got heart and lucky rain. Heart. Lucky raid. Go copy and paste that chat. And I will see you all later, okay? Sophie, you're coming right at the end. I'm so sorry. Bye, everybody. Love you.